The Human Optimization Podcast is proudly brought to you by Vicon Supplements, where quality meets sustainability. Vicon's all-natural supplements are handcrafted and sustainably produced in Canada, bringing you products that nourish both your well-being and our planet. Visit viconsupplements.com today and be a part of a greener, healthier future.
Are you ready to embark on a journey to the best version of you? Join me, Lisa Pitel-Killah, as I dive deep into the world of hair tissue mineral analysis and functional medicine with fellow experts, and guide you on the path of unlocking your full potential. As a multi-time kettlebell sport world champion, I'm on a mission to reach high-performance professionals from around the world to help you minimize tiring symptoms, maximize health, and gain unstoppable energy. This is the Human Optimization Podcast. Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of the Human Optimization Podcast. You are going to love today's talk. I have Coach Josh Wood here with me today. Let me tell you a little bit about Josh. So he is a TEDx speaker. We're going to dive into the topics that he was talking about there. Health educator and an online coach based in Hobart, Tasmania, dedicated to helping busy professionals achieve lifelong strength and wellness. With over 15 years of experience as a competitive powerlifter, combat sports athlete, and wilderness guide, Josh brings a unique and practical perspective to health and fitness. He holds a Bachelor of Health Science and a graduate certificate in strength and conditioning, complemented by numerous certifications in fitness and massage therapy. As the founder of Strong for Life online coaching, Coach Josh combines evidence-based strategies with a deep passion for empowering individuals to live healthier, stronger lives. Amazing. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited about today's talk, and I want to dive into, always love to hear about backgrounds, right? There's a reason that you're here doing the strength training, the nutrition, and kind of inspiring people all over the world to live healthier lives. Tell us about that.
Oh boy. I mean, it's a long story. It's just kind of one of those things where you start taking one step and then there's a natural step that follows that. And then all of a sudden you end up in a completely different place than where you started. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the Midwest in the United States, in Minnesota, and I live in Tasmania, Australia, on the absolute opposite end of the world on an island off the coast of Australia. So it's been a long journey, but on the health side of stuff, it really started from just an interest in fighting. Funnily enough, I was a computer nerd growing up, and just one day when I was 16 or 17, I was working in a computer shop, and I was just like, I should learn how to fight. And so I started looking up kickboxing lessons, and there was nothing in my hometown. And so I ended up doing MMA from a Brazilian guy, taught by a Brazilian guy who's a medical doctor in Brazil, and moved to the US and started teaching Brazilian jiu-jitsu and combat sports, and gave up medicine. And I started doing that, and followed that around the world. Did some travels over to the UK and trained a bit when I was over there, and moved to Australia when I met my future wife, and moved over here and just kept pursuing that. And after a few years, it kind of was just like, man, bodies do some cool things. I wonder what else I can learn about them. How can I learn how to make them work better? And my first career was in massage. And so I studied my certificate. It's called a certificate 4 over here. And then my diploma in that, and started a massage practice out of a gym. And working there, I actually started, after a while, teaching the same massage course that I studied. They invited me back to teach. And so I went back and started teaching that. And they had a sister school that was a fitness school. And so I was like, oh, well, that seems like an interesting thing. I mean, I'm in the gym all the time. I work with athletes from a therapies perspective. Let's study this. And started doing that. Started working out of a strength and conditioning facility in Melbourne. And from there, I was like, I'm really interested in nutrition and health from a more holistic perspective. I've always been sort of holistic in my approach. And so I just followed up with a Bachelor of Health Science with a major in traditional Chinese medicine.
Amazing.
because I wanted something a little bit different, and it has a very strong history of manual therapies as well. So I went into that, and I was doing dry needling a lot at the time, excuse me, and went into acupuncture and herbal medicine down that route, and finished that degree. That was a 4-year, and decided I don't want to work in clinics. I didn't like it. At that point, I was in manual therapies clinics for about 6-7 years. And I was just like, I don't think this is my path. Like, this is not, I got so fed up of people coming in, and because I was working in, the alternative side of healthcare, people would come in and they're like, oh, I don't want anything to do with the Western medical system. I don't want to take pills. I don't want to do all the drugs. I don't like that reductionist approach. So can you please just give me some sort of herbal formula that I can take forever instead of solving my problems? And I was like, wait, that's the same thing. You're just doing it from a different perspective. And I was like, no, man, I don't want to do this. I was like, here, this is what you need to do. Like, get more sunlight, do some exercise. Here's some supplements you could take. People just didn't want to do it. And I realized when I was working in the gym, because I was doing personal training at the time as well, that those are all the people that are coming to do the work. They come in and they're like, what do I do to make my life better, to get more out of my life? Tell me what to do. And they were getting better results than all the clinical people. And so I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down this route. And I just went all in, and I went on a few years later when I moved to Tasmania to do my graduate certificate in strength and conditioning, which is more sports and athletics oriented. And because I was working with a few athletes at the time, it was pretty good. But I work mostly with Gen Pop, general population, busy professionals, a lot of parents, that kind of thing. And that's just what I've been doing for, I guess it's almost been 15 years in gyms. And the obvious other side to that is you can't do anything with your body if you don't nourish it. And so there's just no way around that aspect. And so I just kept learning and studying and figuring things out and testing things and playing around. And I'm not dogmatic about nutrition. I'm a very much of the opinion that you just got to figure out what works for you, because it doesn't matter what perfect and optimal is if you can't do it. If you can't continue, if there's no consistency, if there's no compliance to the plan, perfect doesn't exist. It's what works best for you. And so I just kind of take this very individual, non-dogmatic approach to nutrition. And it all came out from this one strange path of just taking one step and finding the next step that seemed to make the most sense. And now I'm here.
And here you are. I love it. Well, and if I hope I have this right, I think I do, is you were introduced to very good, clean nutrition by your mother.
Correct. So I mentioned before we started recording that my mom's actually visiting from Minnesota. Actually, she's been in Alaska for the last year working as part of a dietetics team there. Yeah, she does a lot of that sort of fly-in contract type work all over the U.S. She just got in this afternoon. But yeah, she's a dietitian. And, I mentioned that in my TEDx talk too, that that's sort of my intro to nutrition. Although we don't agree on everything, and although we have very different perspectives, because mine, I take a more, sporting perspective. Like, how do we fuel people for performance to an extent? Yeah. Where, she works mostly with older population, aged care, hospitals, that kind of thing, which is, it's a different demographic.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's interesting too, because I was talking to a gentleman the other day, and I had made a comment, and I said, I feel like even athletes sometimes, unless they're at a very high competitive level, they don't really see themselves necessarily as an athlete, right? It's like they are, but they don't think about themselves that way. And I said, you know what? At the end of the day, we're all athletes. We get up every day ready to run the marathon of our day, right? Whether that's dropping the kids to school, making lunches, making dinner, going to work, doing all the things. Like, that's a marathon every day. And we, like you said, we have to nourish, right? We have to nourish our bodies to be able to get through that and still have energy to finish that day, right?
To have what?
Energy.
What is that? What?
Right?
All the other parents
am I
with young kids get
tired?
that.
Yes. Why am I tired? It's like, oh my gosh, do you even look at what you do in a
Oh
day?
man, people don't.
Right? It's wild. And so I did, so your TED Talk. So for those of you listening or watching, you definitely have to watch Coach Josh's TED Talk. And one of the big parts that came out of this is we're talking about obesity versus hunger, even what's happening around the world. And there's a really, right. And it's a little scary the way, right. When you mentioned that, I was like, I knew it was a problem. I didn't necessarily know the numbers attached to it. And it would light bulb for me going, wow, this is a major issue.
Yeah, it's honestly terrifying, and that was a big inspiration for the talk. Was like I was looking at, I'm pretty sure, it's been a bit now, but I'm trying to remember. I think it was a Lancet study that came out looking at obesity rates, and this came out January, February, March last year, I believe it was, and it's just like, congratulations, there are more people with obesity than there are people starving in the world. So it's like,
Yeah.
That's good on one respect, but it's terrible in another.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I feel like sometimes people get lost, right? When we're talking about the health space, even the supplement industry, right? Where it's all intertwined, right? And I feel like there's so much marketing and data that you can Google. People don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And it's just overwhelming. It's like, what do we do? And you talk about building consistent habits that you can sustain, right? And I mean, you and I both see it. It's like the up and down yo-yo of the next new diet that comes out, or the next new thing that's on the market that everybody's doing. And, maybe 30% of people are having amazing results. The other 70% have not had amazing results, and they're already on to something else. And that's really dangerous for our health.
It is. And, the other side of that is what we see in fitness. Like, I'm on Instagram a lot, and I'm always seeing some of the trends that are happening in the fitness industry. And there's a few really, really clued on smart people out there that are fighting back against a lot of this trendiness.
Yep.
But it's whatever looks the coolest in a video or sounds the coolest or the most exciting or most interesting that people latch onto, even if it's absurd. And in the fitness side of stuff, there is so much ridiculousness, but good editing and good production value that will get you 1 million views.
Right.
But it's nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And people just latch on to it because it's so cool sounding or so cool looking. And you're right, it's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I always say it comes back to basics. Even when we think about nutrition, it comes back to basics. When I was training for the world championships and in the gym and with my strength coach, and he said, go buy the Mark Ripido book and read about doing squats, deadlifts, push press, and bench press. That's all you need to do to strengthen all the body the way that you need to, right? It's getting down to the basics and getting those in before you do all the fancy stuff.
Yes. I can talk about that. I was having that conversation with a friend today as well, based on another, very popular, very large, jacked individual on Instagram who was saying a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, that doesn't even pass like basic physiology. Like, that's just not correct. But it's Instagram, it's social media,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can find some really great reels on there, but then there's a lot. There's equally as many, if not more, of things that shouldn't be on there, right? So it's a very fine line of what you're going to believe, and you really need to do your due diligence and make sure you're following people that know what they're talking about.
Correct.
So I want to talk now. I want to talk about, you have an amazing list, 6 habits, right? And you call this, and I'm so curious about just where the thought was, and maybe it's simple, I don't know, but 6 habits to eat like an adult.
Yeah.
Right? I was like, oh, I didn't really think about that before, but it's true.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the way I kind of thought about it was the idea of doing something like an adult, being an adult in any domain is really about understanding consequences. It's about taking ownership and understanding that if I want a certain outcome, I have to do the things that lead to that outcome today. If I want a future, I have to plan for that future. And, adults learn how to do that sometimes the hard way when it comes to finances and when it comes to relationships, when it comes to anything, when it comes to health. And that's being an adult. And that phrase just made sense. Well, then eat like an adult. Well, what does an adult eat like? And a lot of people be like, oh, I need to eat my vegetables. I'm like, it's less than that and it's more than that. And so I kind of started to codify a few years back this idea of, what are the sort of habits that help us reframe a relationship with food? Because again, like I said, like I'm not like there's no certain diet you have to eat. There's no certain way or style or foods you don't have to eat or you shouldn't eat. It's like what works for you, but what are some underlying principles that allow people to help make the decisions that work well for them? And in the framework of the TEDx talk, it's also, I'm doing it from the perspective of a parent. And like we mentioned, those obesity statistics, well, it's 360 million.
I want to say 67 maybe. Yeah. Something like that. 65,
360 something million adolescents and children that are overweight or obese, and 37 million kids under 5. Well, those kids aren't buying their groceries. They're not cooking their meals.
Right.
Who's doing that? It's the parents. So if we want to change the future, we have to be adults. And it's not just for us, it's for the next generation. So I kind of started to figure out, how to simplify it. I've been using the Eat Like an Adult habits for a few years. I originally put an infographic together for my sister and her husband when they asked for some help with nutrition. I was like, I was visiting family in Minnesota, and I was like, well, I need to give them something, but I can't just like sit down and do a whole diet plan and all that for them, and they won't remember. And it's like I need to give them some basics that they can put on the fridge, and that's where the idea sort of started getting codified. And that was a couple of years before the TEDx talk. And then the framework in the TEDx talk was specifically like, how do we change the future?
Yeah.
And that's, it's a framework I've been working with for a while and kind of fine tuning. And it's just really about trying to have a better relationship to food, not the good, not the bad. There's too much morality placed on diet and food. But how do we just get along with it better?
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you too, taking the approach that you have, right? What you call coding it or using the principles, I think is so much more effective because of the fact, let's go back again to the basics and being able to do this for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah.
This isn't just another fad diet. This is about how am I going to eat and make good choices for the rest of my life that then trickles down to my children, right? Because they learn from the adults that are raising them and around them too, whether that's, other family members or friends or what have you. And I'm not a proponent of necessarily the tracking either, right? The people who are tracking everything. I mean, that helps some people to kind of get started and maybe understand the macros that they're getting. But I find a lot of times it ends up almost leading to a not good relationship with food in a lot of cases, right? Where we're tracking all these things and it's very stressful and causing us anxiety and things like that. So let's dive into, are you ready to blow the doors off and share these 6 habits?
We'll give it a go.
Let's do it. So the Apple test. Let's talk about number 1.
Honestly, if you come away with nothing else, this is the most practical, useful, life-changing thing. I get so many messages and comments every time I bring up the Apple test about how beneficial it's been for people because it's so simple. And this comes down to actually understanding, are you even hungry? Like, do you want to eat, or is there something else going on? And the idea is, if you're like, I'm sitting at my desk here, and if I'm digging around looking for something sweet at work, or I'm in the pantry at 3 p.m, 8 o'clock at night, those times that we're always looking for something, we're ferreting around looking for that sweet treat. It's like, well, hold up. If I, security reasons notwithstanding, like if I were to appear behind you with a, beautiful, perfect apple and hand it to you and be like, hey, you're hungry, right? Eat this. a hungry person would eat the apple.
Yeah.
But if you're just like, no, I really want those Tim Tams or that Snickers bar or glass of wine, whatever it is, that little something that's going to hit those taste buds just right, you're not hungry. You tell yourself you're hungry. You tell people you're hungry. Oh, I'm hungry. I want a snack. But you're having a craving, and that can be related to something completely different. You could be thirsty. You could be stressed. You could be tired, and you're essentially trying to self-medicate, but you're translating the sensation as hunger. But a hungry person, if you find a starving person in the wilderness and you hand them an apple, they're not going to be like, oh, no, I really want a chocolate chip cookie. That's not going to happen.
No.
And, apples are great. It's not just, arbitrary fruit. Like I like apples. They're one of my favorite things. Tasmania is called the apple isle for a reason. Like we're a big apple growing region. But it's crunchy. It's sweet. It's full of pectin. It helps you feel full. It hits a lot of wonderful taste, flavor, sensations, and experiences, and it's great. It can help hit a lot of those things. And so I get these messages where people are like, I just carry an apple every day in my bag now. And so as soon as I start digging around for something sweet, I eat the apple if I actually want it. If not, I just wait till lunch.
Yeah.
So the apple test is really just one of those ones. It's like trying to reconnect you with understanding what your body's actually saying, like how to translate those sensations into something tangible. Am I actually hungry?
Yeah.
Most people don't ask themselves that.
They don't. And I always think back about the hydration. I feel like so many people are running around dehydrated, too much caffeine, right? For every cup of coffee we have that drops our hydration down, we actually have to have the same amount of water to bring us back just to zero. That's not even to hydrate, right? So I feel like so many people are running around dehydrated, and then we think it's hunger, right? I think that's a big one too. Okay, now second one, choose better.
Yeah. And like we kind of mentioned before, this idea of how do we do things forever? And if we go to like weighing and measuring, I do believe that, if you really want to quantify and see a result as quickly as possible, weigh and measure, but you're not going to do it forever. And I do happen to work with a bunch of accountants. And they like, I don't know why it is, but I just keep getting accountants and they like numbers, and they're like, just tell me the numbers. It's like, okay, fine. It's fine. You're a numbers guy. It's fine. But choosing better is about how we can sort of create a compounding effect over time. It's compounding interest. And it's just this idea that we don't have to do everything perfectly, but as long as we just keep choosing a little better each time, 6 months, a year, 10 years down the road, you're eating a completely different way. And, a great example is like if you go out to eat and you're like, okay, well, it's 50 cents more for the large soda. That's a really good deal, per amount of sugar and beverage. That's a better deal, right? It's like, well, that's not the better deal. That's a more economic deal. But choosing better is just getting the smaller one. And if you're actually thirsty, you just drink your small soda, enjoy it, be happy. It's fine. Drink your water. Drink your water if you're thirsty. And so every time you have these opportunities to choose a little better, the more often that you do that, the more that compounds over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I find fascinating too that people feel, I almost feel like, and this gets us to number 4, but we're not there yet. But I almost find when people go to restaurants, it's like, oh, I could have the steak and like mashed potato, right? And hey, I eat steak all the time, but it's like, why not have a salad with the steak on the salad? Do you know what I mean? Like there's always something you can order at the restaurant that is
that's right.
actually healthy, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. There's always an option. But maybe we'll save that for number 4.
I agree. Okay. Number 3, and this is a big one. Don't eat emotions. Because this is a problem for people where we're emotional, we're stressed, or we're happy. And then that celebration causes us to be in a habit, right? Maybe celebrating is alcohol for some people, or an extra glass of wine, or right, whatever that is. That's a big one too.
Yeah, don't eat your emotions. And it's funny because like when I give this talk. So like I do a version of the Eat Like a Adult talk, which is more of like a 2-hour seminar, and go into a lot more nutrition details. And every time I get to this one, whether it's the long talk or the short talk or whatever, you always get these nervous chuckles. People are like, it's like, yeah, listen, I know it's easier said than done, but we are being adults here and we have to recognize our shortcomings and the things that are hard for us to do. Because the thing is, eating your emotions feels good.
Yep.
You feel great for about 15 minutes, maybe an hour, and then you don't. And then you feel bad, and then you're bloated and your stomach hurts, and now you just want to lay down and go to sleep. And so if we don't start to recognize, and again, coming back to the Apple test, like, are you hungry? Why are you digging into that cake? But if we start to recognize those habits that come out of emotional states and start to translate that better, we can create and develop better coping mechanisms that do suit us in the long run. Because every time we feed our feelings, we're teaching ourselves that that's the thing that we need to do. And we're actually not coping. We're trying to self-medicate. It's not a very good medication for it. And it just ends up with our inability to manage how we're feeling. And if you run the Apple test, and then if you're like, well, no, I'm just going to eat some garbage, but you choose better. You have a little bit smaller. You have one of those tiny cans of Coke, or you have a half a glass of wine, just a little something, a little one square of chocolate. Every time you choose better, you start managing that better. But ultimately, the sooner we can recognize whether or not we're acting in an emotional state and deciding whether or not that's going to be beneficial for us in the long run, the better we can manage it across our lifespan.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And again, this is something where it's a bit of self-realization and self-awareness too, right? It's learning a little bit more about ourselves. And that's hard for some people to cross over to that side and say, I'm going to pay attention to how I actually feel. Because I feel like a lot of people as well, we kind of run through life sometimes, and I'm guilty of it too, where it's like, okay, yep, I feel bad, but I feel great. In my head, I'm just going to keep going, right? That's not a good way to nourish your body and be stress resilient, and right. All right, 4, treats or treats.
Treats are treats. What a thing! It's such a funny one, and this came about because I have clients that have just so often told me this. It was a hard day at work, so I had a little treat. Or it was a hard day at work, I had a little treat. It was a hard day at school, I had a little treat. I have children and they were difficult, and I had a little treat. And it's like, well, you say that every single day. Yep. So what exactly is a treat? A treat is something that is special. It is something that is earned above all else. It is an earned thing. You get a treat as a reward. You don't get a reward for going to your 9 to 5. You don't get a reward for every day of the week. If you're doing something consistently, if you're doing something at the same time every day, that 9 o'clock glass of wine, that Friday bucket of wings, it's not a treat. It's your diet, because it's a habit. It's a pattern. Treats are not patterns. They are rewards for special things. As soon as you recognize that something is a pattern and it's part of your diet, you can decide whether it is beneficial to you. Right. So I'm going to be upfront. Like, Thursday evenings is we're not cooking food. We're not cleaning the kitchen. We're getting takeaway every Thursday. That is a pattern. That is part of our diet. We have a local food van near us. That's usually where we get food. Tonight we did Japanese. We did sushi, which I guess really isn't junk food or anything like that. But, it's whatever it is that we want to eat. That is our Thursday evening. We are going to eat something easy and fun, and everyone's going to be happy, and we don't care. And we're perfectly aware that it's not a treat. It's a pattern. It's in the calendar. It's our diet. But we're making that choice. And we're recognizing it. It's the only day a week that we will eat out. We cook everything at home most of the time. But so many people came up to me after that TEDx talk, and because it was at a local venue, I knew some of the people that were working there and in the crowd and stuff. And a guy comes up that I know, and he's like, I never thought about those glasses of wine that I have every night. Like, I always just, I'm like, just treat myself, just gonna treat myself, just have a little treat. At the end of the day, it's a hard day's work. He's like, it's just my diet. And I've never thought about it that way. I'm like, well, then my job is done. I did my part.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, it's a very good point. And the other part too, I'm curious, I'd love to hear your opinion before we hit number 5, is because a lot of, and this goes way back, like I'm thinking like 30 years ago when I was in my early 20s, and it was like, well, you eat perfect. I take that back. There's nothing's perfect. As well as you can for 6 days a week, but then you have your cheat day. Isn't that that's a pattern? That's your diet now.
That's right. And that's, that's fine. I know lots of people, I have lots of friends who are really into bodybuilding, and they're very strict. And then they have, their cheat meal. Cheat day is dangerous. Cheat day is very dangerous. Because it becomes a cheat
weekend and then a week.
Yeah, well, you can actually eat a lot. You can eat a lot in a day. To sort of mitigate that with folks who are very keen on like a cheat event. I've rebranded them as power feasts because it's an opportunity to greater fuel yourself. And what I do is I have them write down everything they crave during the week. And then during their power feast, they are welcome to try and eat all of it. They don't. No one ever does.
That'd be a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. But you turn it into a meal. You turn it into a power feast, or you make it time constrained. And it's pretty hard to throw off a week's worth of solid work in a couple hours or in a meal. But if you do it from 9 to 9 on a Saturday, you can undo a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that too. Okay. Number 5, good enough. And this brings me back to me even saying perfect. It's like, delete.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, this what is perfect? It's about your goals and where you want to be and what sacrifices you're willing to make. Because like I tell people who are really weight loss focused, people come in and be like, I want to lose 20 kilos in 10 weeks. I'm like, 2 kilos a week that's a lot. It's like, listen, we can do it, but you're going to suffer. Yep. And everything is a trade-off. How much are you willing to suffer to make this thing happen? And then how long can you sustain it afterward? So, good enough is kind of that understanding that you don't have to do things perfectly. And coming back to the whole restaurant thing, my example is, if you're going out to eat, pubs are a big part of Australian culture, and you go out to a pub meal every once in a while, and they have lots of options. A lot of times there's like a chicken carbonara or like a lasagna. They've always got like steak. They have some sort of like chicken parma or schnitzel, things like that. And you get a big pile of fries, or you can have the roast veg or the salad and a pint of beer, whatever it is. But there's like you said, there's always a healthy option or a healthy-ish option. And my thing is always, if you were to have a plate and there was a chunk of meat on it, some sort of protein, a bit of a side salad, and a dinner roll, most people would be like, well, that's pretty good. That's probably good enough. It might not be perfect. There might be too much dressing or whatever. But you slice that dinner roll in half and throw it all on top. It's a cheeseburger, and you can get a cheeseburger everywhere. And so that's kind of like my go-to good enough option. It's like, if you're going out to eat and you're not sure what to get, just get yourself a real nice burger.
Yeah.
But you don't have to get the large fries and the large drink on the side. You're going out to eat. You're doing it for social reasons. You're doing it, maybe it is a treat. You're doing it for reasons other than trying to have the perfect diet. So just find something that's going to be good enough. It's not going to set you back, not going to ruin your week's worth of hard work, but it's good enough. And be fine with that. And that's kind of like almost an inverse choose better. It's like you're kind of choosing better, but you're also learning to settle and say, like, this is not necessarily about perfection or optimization. It's about social. It's about feel good. It's about maybe treating yourself. But finding something that's good enough is going to keep you moving in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I find too, when people get into that mode sometimes and they don't really make that connection, that's when they beat themselves up after. Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Right. It's like the regret sets in. Right. And that's not a good emotional.
It's not healthy either.
No, it's not.
It doesn't lead to good decisions. I did a really interesting podcast early in the year with a lady who's a alcoholics coach.
Mm-hmm.
And we went through the whole eat like an adult habits and compared them to what she does with people in AA and in, managing alcoholism. And
Yep.
as soon as you start dealing with that massive amount of like regrets and like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, it doesn't lead to good places.
No.
But understanding what's good enough allows you to keep moving forward and just kind of see it as like a speed bump.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Okay. Is everybody ready? We're at number 6. Mistakes happen.
There it is. Man, I just like that one. That one's pretty straightforward. The idea is that you're gonna make mistakes, and a mistake isn't. A mistake is only something that is opposite to what you're trying to achieve.
Right.
It's not a moral judgment. It's a saying like, I'm trying to be in a calorie deficit because I want to lose X amount of weight, and I've had a slip up. I didn't calculate something right. I went out to eat. I had a little bit too much to drink. Whatever it is, that's going to happen. Life is too short, but it's long enough to know that you're going to have non-perfect, non-optimal days, and there's no way around that. You're going to travel. You're going to be staying with friends or family, and your mom's going to put too much on your plate, and then she's going to make cake and then give you a drink. You don't want to offend your mom. You eat that.
So true.
So it's one of those things like this. You're just going to have not perfect days, and you're going to have to accept that. And the worst thing you can do is dwell on it or use it as an excuse to throw your adult attitude out the window. Right. It's like, you had a slice of cake. You don't need to eat the whole thing. Just accept that you had the cake, and maybe it's not on plan, and maybe you shouldn't have. But hey, you don't have to eat the whole cake. And tomorrow, maybe you just won't have any. You see it as a speed bump, and you just keep moving.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's a way, I feel like it's a way to program your mind to just keep going to reach your goals.
Yeah.
Right.
To keep that momentum.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we'll have those 6 principles in the description just so you have a reference point. And what I would suggest is, like you said, if you take one thing from this particular talk, is put an apple in your briefcase, your purse, your gym bag, whatever it is. And then if you're craving something, pull that out and go, do I want to eat this? Because if you say no, then you need to figure out what your body actually needs, because you're probably not really hungry. That is an amazing point. Amazing point. All right. So you talked about cooking earlier, just cooking kind of 6 days a week, that one day off where you didn't have to clean up the kitchen, do all the things. My husband and I, we do the same thing. Ours is Fridays, right? It's just nice to get home that day and be like, dinner's on the table, and we don't have to clean anything, and it's nice. But you have a cookbook coming out.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, it's out. It is out. It was supposed to be like a 3 to 4 month project. I got a buddy of mine who trained as a chef in India, and he's worked in like cooking schools and things like that. And he came on as a client. He's been a long-term client, and a great source of inspiration when I'm trying to figure out fun things to cook. 'Cause I like cooking and I like flavorful food. Spent a bit of time in Southeast Asia when I was working as a tour guide. I led a trip in Sri Lanka. Spent some time in Nepal. Like, I like food, flavor. And so it must have been end of 2023. And I was like, hey, Ed, how do you feel about helping me put together a cookbook of Indian food, but like we make everything macro friendly?
Love it.
And he's like, yeah, cool. I was like, cool. Yeah. I want to try and knock this out in like 3-4 months. 18 months later, we finally get the thing ready to publish. And then it takes another 3 or 4 weeks of fighting with publishing design. But finally got that out, and it's called Macro Masala, and it's a nutrition focused take on traditional Indian flavors. And it's got everything from how to make your own garam masala, like how to use spices, what they all are. And every recipe So we've got some veg recipes, some non-veg meat-based recipes. We've got a lot of side dishes, things that are vegetable-based, dal, lentils, things like that. There's even a couple desserts and how to make a proper chai.
Nice.
And all of them, this is the big part that I did is going through and calculating all the nutrition information and having your macros on each of those and a barcode you can scan directly into MyFitnessPal for each of those recipes.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a big time saver for the meal prep crowd. Plus it's all really good. It's really good. I'm very, very, very happy with the recipes. I cook them all the time. But yeah, that's out now. It's available on Amazon everywhere.
I love it. I love it. Well, I, it's interesting too, because I do find you talked about using spices and very flavorful foods. I'm in the same boat. I find too, we get into a bit of a rut sometimes and I'm just like protein, veg, bit of complex carbs and and I'm really not using anything to make that taste really good, right? You're just kind of getting that groove. So it gets a little boring after a while. Right?
Yeah, I eat fairly boring like 80% of the time, but then if I'm going to cook a dinner or like do something proper, I like it to be real good.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so cookbook on Amazon. We'll have the link in the description as well. The other amazing thing, so as you know, Coach Josh is the founder of Strong for Life online coaching. We have a beginner gym guide that you can download.
There it is.
So we'll have that for you as well. Lots of great information in this guide. There are some exercises and some movement assessments that you can check out as well with videos attached. So really, really great resource. Well, Josh, thank you so much for sharing and being with us and just, your 6 habits to eat like an adult. Genius. I just think it's an easy, principle-driven way to just make adult good choices.
That's the idea.
That is the idea. I love it. All right. So for those of you listening on your favorite podcast host, make sure you follow and give this episode a like. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you give us a thumbs up. We're here every 2 weeks with a brand new episode. And thanks for joining us. I will see you next time. Thanks for joining us today on the Human Optimization Podcast. Episode technical production is by Grace Sylvester and guest booking by Stu Tate. Want to learn more? Visit Pitel-Killah.com for incredible free resources to supercharge your journey to becoming the best version of you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe to the Human Optimization Podcast and follow me on social media at Lisa Pitel-Killah.